these people to come in and then get transformed. Right? And hopefully then what you want to do is push down further so the transformation begins earlier. And at one point, the same message keeps getting reinforced. Right? So now you can say, well, that's brainwashing and that's propaganda. And I would say, yeah, so what? The point is, fine, it's brainwashing. Is it justified? And it absolutely is, based on our ethical system. Right? Because we're not deceiving people. We believe that is the truth. We're presenting them that with the truth. And we're also pointing out the limitations of other people. And they're quite happy to come and give their perspectives. In fact, we have to teach them their other perspectives so that they can see through the developing lie. So it's absolutely important to do this activity. And that is, I hope, a sufficiently muddled answer to your question. Well, again, it's quite interesting how you define the market, right? So if you take the market as what the people of Pakistan want, which is, clean drinking water and some kind of modicum of safety, protection of their rights, the ability to affect decisions that impact their lives, or at least have decisions that impact their lives in a constructive fashion, not in a prejudicial manner. We're not doing any of that, right? So I don't quite know how to address that issue in terms of vision. So we're talking about markets. In terms of markets, if you look at markets as economics looks at markets, in terms of effective demand, right? So, I mean, a lot of people in Pakistan want clean drinking water. The price mechanism is not going to allocate water. It's going to allocate water to those who can afford clean drinking water. And it does a very good job there. So if you look at market in that sense, then LUMS is doing an excellent job, which is taking care of elite interests. After all, this place was established by elites, and it was established to provide them with a set of managers called Lahore University of Management Sciences. The idea was that they were scaling upwards, they were expanding production, they needed management talent, and they needed institutions that could provide them with a steady stream of that talent. So that was the vision, and they've kept at it. And of course, they'll justify to themselves that, if they're able to increase wealth, then that rising tide will lift all boats. But the problem with that metaphor is that what happens if not everybody's on the boat? And in fact, at least my understanding of business and society relationships is that increasing wealth often goes hand in hand with increasing inequality, and it requires some kind of a social struggle to redistribute wealth from the privilege to those who do not have those resources. If you go with Adam Smith, he knew all about it. He called it the wild maxim of the masters: all for ourselves and nothing for others. 19th century women workers in within the textile factories hated this maxim, which they call forget all but self. So on that basis, if that is the motive and wealth is increasing, why would they give out charity or redistribute wealth? History shows that redistributive mechanisms come out in the crucible of political struggles. It's not that people who are motivated by sentiments of utility maximization, where utility is linked to private and personal consumption maximization. Why would they reduce their consumption to feed a bunch of strangers? They won't do it. They haven't done it. Now, unless of course you change the human personality, where they're not doing utility function maximization, they're pleasing God. Then we've seen in our own tradition that they've set up foundations and that they would redistribute wealth through running orphanages, charities, and so on and so forth. And also, at the source of production, giving a wage or a just distribution of surplus that is collectively produced. Some actor, to be fair to them, I think that's a reasonable way of looking at it from their viewpoint. But one can always make certain qualifications. So let's take the input one, that they are here to make money. Okay, so no one's. I don't think if we were to create an alternative business school, we would be opposed to the idea of making money. See, the issue, look, everybody is in favor. So making money is like saying, we want peace. Okay, everybody's in favor of peace. I think nobody, even Ariel Sharon, is saying that he doesn't want peace, or Hitler said he did not want peace. The question is on what terms, right? So yes, I mean, fine. We're not taking away that drive of making money, but we can clearly direct that drive into more beneficial ends. So there's no, and we have examples. So you have Zufla Enterprises, these tent manufacturers. They're making good money. They're exporting tents all over the world, but they're doing it on an azimuth basis, doing it in a most ethical fashion with Ehsan according to the Sharia. So there's no dichotomy between, or there's no contradiction between making money, in fact, making a lot of money, while being ethical as Islam understands it. So fine, yes, if they've come here to make money, let them make money. All we're doing is changing the terms on which they're going to make money. So they'll still end up making money. And besides, as Muslims, we believe that our risk is fixed, is from God. Can't do anything about it. What we can do in something about, and for which we have volition, is the choices we make in our lives. Right? So on that basis, what we should be concerned about is in inculcating them a strong character, where through trade, through the making of money, they're able to transform society and themselves in a way pleasing to God, and to bring others into religion, which is what the Muslim traders did when they set off to the Far East. Far East, Malaysia, Indonesia, those were basically areas where conversions happened largely on account of the ethical practices of the traders, and I think the traders went bankrupt. So yes, no problems with them making money, but making money why? I think we can change that, and how we're going to make money, we can alter that. We're not even making any effort on that score. Right? Second point about a 2 year stop in changing beliefs. Well, you see the way power and propaganda works. I think they're very good at least taking the values that most people come in, which is making money for the sake of their egos, and reinforcing that, through the CP method and through other ways. Nonetheless, if we can create an alternative program where from a multiplicity of sources they're getting the same message, which is be good, be decent, the only thing you have control of is your effort, and put that effort in the service of God, and go and work hard and create jobs for people, I think that would be quite fine. In fact, if you do it that way, then 2 years is more than sufficient to bring about a transformation. If you look at Tabligh Jamaat, and I'm not saying that people should join it, but as an example, people's lives have changed in 40 days, right? Forever. You have Dr. Arif Zaman, you have others, which are examples that we can relate to. And Dr. Javed Ghani, the former dean of our business school, have all had these major transformations. In fact, sometimes we don't even need 40 days. So the examples we saw in our class, where, for example, what did it take? One lecture for a corporate lawyer to give all that up and in Germany, and to come to Pakistan and help mentally challenged or handicapped children. All it takes at times is just one word to transform our lives. And again, that links to your third point. It's about this market-driven natures that the corporations wanted. So, corporations are not God. Clearly, look, they'll want human beings at the end of the day. These are large bureaucracies, they need cogs. But if the cogs, as a collective, stop going to them, then they will come and renegotiate terms of engagement. And there is no reason why we have to select that market. Those are just few clients. There's a lot of small proprietors, there's a lot of small family businesses who would be willing to work on more lines which are more in line with Islam. We should ask them to change, or we should find other sources of employing our talents, start up our own firms. I mean, so every cohort, I think, can pull together enough resources to get some enterprise going. It's going to be rough. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but we all know alternatives are available. And some of our alumni have gone into their own businesses, right, from every successive batch. The others don't do that, I think, largely out of convenience and out of a sense of isolation. Because change does not come, even individual change requires a collective effort. So take, Alcoholics Anonymous. Even when you want to quit alcohol, it requires a group effort to help you quit. And your effort then helps the group stay on course, right? Just to be away from alcohol. So our problems is that we actually have collective problems that we individually experience, but then we look for it in terms of individual solutions. And I think that's where our response goes wrong. That we do not collectively organize to address these issues. And I think in 2 years, you develop enough bonds of trust, mutuality, sympathy, empathy, respect, that it's easy to coalesce into a very effective, organized unit to take care of your material needs. So for example, without being too facetious, you can buy, say, an acre of land. Say the 5 of us can buy an acre of land near Murray, about 45 minutes or even 2 hours from Islamabad. We can put half the land, and by the way, it'll cost like 7 lakhs, maybe 8 with a depreciating rupee. So 8 lakhs, that's what, about 5 of us. Okay, let's make it easy. Let's bring in another 3. So let's say there's 8 of us, and it's 800,000. So each one of us has to contribute 100,000. Okay, if we save 10,000 rupees a month on our monthly salary, in 1 year we can raise that capital. So we can purchase that piece of land. It'll be near Islamabad. We can set up our houses there. We can grow food there for ourselves, and we can actually take the surplus, put in a Suzuki van, because we may have to save a little bit more for that, or rent it, take it to the market, sell it, and have our income. There are possibilities out there, but I think it's that people just feel a sense of isolation, a sense of helplessness. They see these huge structures, and they find how meaningless their lives are, so they say, what's the point of making any effort? And I think it is that mental prison that we have to break so that the creativity can escape and do these kind of things, and then the market will change. And of course, like I said, the market also wants heroin, so should LUMS be engaged in heroin management? They may consider the idea, probably never thought of it. It's a high value added supply chain. You take opium, convert it to heroin, that's a higher jump than taking a football and selling it retail. In fact, some made the connection. They started pumping heroin into football, right? And they really got their value chain going. But LUMS doesn't do that, right? Regardless of what the market wants. So if it's willing to not listen to the market on these issues, then we only have to prime it so it doesn't have to listen to the market on these other matters. And risk, as we know, this is a very important philosophical point. The risk is coming from God, and we absolutely have no control over it. Even from a dunyavi perspective, we see that. So for example, right now, if you were in the US and all you guys had finance degrees, you won't be getting a job right now because of the subprime crisis. When Citibank is knocking off $25 billion of its balance sheet, they're not going to be hiring people. In fact, they'll be firing people. That's not in your control at all. So if that is the situation, then why not do something that you find meaningful? Instead of being instrumental, doing something you hate in order to achieve a valued objective, which you may or may not get, because that is completely out of your control. What is in your control is your effort to a large extent. Well, I think if you look at how social change happens, it happens because a lot of people are working at it over a considerable period of time. So it has to happen with the students, with the faculty, with the employers. But I think, for example, what was the market before LUMS? There wasn't a market really for MBAs, okay? They created this market. In other words, they were able to make some effort and to create a space for this kind of knowledge. And that knowledge, then when the market turned around and said, hey, This is useful for us. We never thought of doing things this way. And they saw value in that. It caught on. So for example, what was the market for steam engines? There wasn't one. Then the guy produces the steam engine, well, and all of a sudden, people begin to explore different uses for it and say, hey, this is valuable. What was the market for the Model T Ford? There wasn't one. They were just horses. So the Model T Ford is produced, and all of a sudden, people test it, they like it, and the demand takes off for automobiles as for private transportation. Similarly, I'm pretty sure that at one point when people had private autos, they didn't conceive of public transit. The government decided we're going to have public transit when people actually experience it. The important thing is for people to experience this space of freedom. So that means, however we started, someone has to make that effort and create that candle, that one candle that can dispel the darkness. And we should not feel pessimistic on that account, because in the Quran, as the ulama say, it's quite interesting that the darkness is always referred to in the plural, right? It's always referred to as dhulumat, darknesses, veils of darknesses. But light is always in the singular, nur. Nur is dhulumat. So the point is that we just need that one example